We are starting the YouTube recording, and we are going for the podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to another episode of Business Bros! Ladies and gentlemen,
boys
welcome.
And girls.
I want to give you guys all an apology. Now, it's kind of an apology, kind of not an apology. Mm-hmm. I didn't post an episode on Monday, and that was totally my fault.
Fail.
Well, it was a holiday, so we've gone where we don't post on a holiday before. But I intended to post. I typed it all up. It was ready to go. I didn't hit the send button. So that was my fault.
That's the same excuse when I don't text people back.
That's true. That's true.
Damn, I just gave away a secret.
Right? All right. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You did see one on Monday if you did the Facebook Live post, but we didn't have a podcast episode post on Monday, Memorial Day. So now I have it in my memory. I will memorialize it, and I will remember to do it going forward. All right, real quick.
Not what Memorial Day is about.
I know, it's just how I'm going to remember it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 365 pairs of shoes is what we're trying to shoot for by the end of this year. So remember, if you got a gently used pair of shoes, 619-884-0045 or james@csfirst.com. Give him a call, shoot him a text. He'll ride over on his Harley and pick up those shoes for you.
Vroom, vroom. And
then, of course, remember, he does do insurance. So if you want to add insurance into your existing business, or you want to get an insurance quote, or you have clients that need some help, hit him up again, 619-884-0045 or Hernan or james@csfirst.com. Sorry, that's all I got. All right,
not that pretty.
Ready to rock and roll? Intro time.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to have with us today Miss Caroline Abkar from Windermere Homes and Estates. This is a good show for everybody today.
Well, to be fair, Tidbit Tuesdays happens to be Tuesday today, so we're going to get some tidbits today for sure.
That is so awesome. Thank you guys so much for having
Perfect timing.
me. This is really exciting.
It is, right? It's first time doing the podcast, right?
Yep.
Usually you do interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about what you do. Who do you interview?
So this is my 4th year in real estate, and one of the things I did when I first started was just interview local businesses in Bay Park where I live. So I interviewed, local coffee shops, the local seafood shop, some of my, small business owners, PR firm, interior design firm, restaurants, who else? A flooring company that one of my good friends and clients owns. So just all kinds of different businesses that I feel just are a part of our community. And I just wanted to share more about them and just let people know who they are.
That was one of the first things you did when you first got into real estate?
It is the very first thing. Actually, the very first interview was the principal at Marston Middle School, because there were families coming to me at our school, and they had some concerns, about what they had heard and the reputation of the school, but the principal had just come in. And so I thought, instead of all these people, moving away because of potentially misinformation, I thought, why not just go talk to him directly? And so that was the first interview I did, and I learned so much. I put together a PDF and I put it out there, and the response was just so great, and families actually stayed after all at the school because they were excited about what he had to say. And here we are 4 years later, and it's a great school, and so many more neighborhood elementary families are going to Marston. It's not because of what I did, but it was just such an exciting thing, and I'm excited to see that happen because, again, it's all part of community and just staying together.
Well, first of all, congratulations on 4 years.
Thank you.
You know that the average realtor only lasts like 2.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
And so I like the fact that you were doing that at first. It not only brings value to whoever's your audience is, but it also allows you to start to make new connections, right? So you're out there talking to the principal, which if the principal had bad things to say and people didn't like it and they did decide to move, that's not a bad thing for you. However, if the principal had good things to say and brought people into the community, that's also not a bad thing for you. So you're giving the community and the information that they're looking for in a particular area. And as a result, if they decide to make a decision for or against, you're still a resource that they come back to.
Exactly. And it's all about making informed decisions. That's what I say. It has nothing to do with what's in it for me or anybody else but you and your family. So, as you said, regardless of what the outcome is, they will remember me maybe as somebody who provided value. So it doesn't really matter if they choose to stay. It makes me happy that they stay because these are great families. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And that's always been what drives me, to do what I do is just, people and how can I positively impact people regardless of what's in it for me, because that's not what it's about.
So 4 years ago, or let's say 5 years ago, you weren't in real estate. What drove you to this industry? Because you gotta be a little crazy, you gotta be a little driven to do this sort of thing.
You have to be very driven to do this, and I won't lie, it's a lot of work. But I have an engineering background. It's a decision I made because after 10 years in corporate, I was getting a lot of positive feedback and accolades, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel like I was making a difference directly in somebody's life, and I felt like I was missing that personal connection with people. And I thought long and hard about it, and I thought, gosh, what can I do without going back to college for another 4 or 5 years, or without getting a master's degree, and just really make that difference in people's lives. And growing up, we had a lot of hardships and we lost our home. We had to move away very quickly because of, I grew up in a war zone, and I always felt like home was a special place. And, I thought, let me study the courses for real estate. And if I love it, I'll give it a shot. And if I don't like it, it'll have to be something else. But I just completely fell in love with the subject matter, very different than anything I was used to. But at the same time, I bring a lot of analytical, skills, having been a project manager for many years, and it's just served my clients really well because nothing, drops. The ball never drops during a transaction. And I'm just very detail oriented. And again, just love helping people. So it's been amazing.
You got a nice background in some math there, engineering degree. That's kind of cool.
Relate.
Yeah, I can relate. That's true. That's true. And one of the teachers that I hang out with a lot, she's actually comes from an engineering background too. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about where you got that feel for home. What was it like growing up for you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I don't talk about this a lot, but I grew up in the Mediterranean, and I grew up in Beirut. I'm Armenian originally, but my parents are born there, and there was just a lot of war. We left in '89, but that last year leading up to our departure was just really difficult. Bombs were falling left and right, and we had to go to bunkers every night, and we couldn't go to school anymore. And then one night the bomb just fell in our building, and there was just a huge fire, and the windows shattering. It was just really traumatic. And so within 8 days, my parents decided to leave the country, and they just literally left everything behind. And we moved a lot until they actually found a place to stay in Montreal in Canada, because we're French speaking. We went to, French Catholic school growing up, and they wanted an environment that could mirror what they were comfortable with. But, because they left with nothing, we had to live in like tiny apartments, and we kept moving every year because, it was just really difficult for them. My dad would work 2-3 jobs, and we saw him maybe 2-3 hours a night sometimes. And yeah, it was just, it just made me feel like, being home is just a part of your identity,
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel like we had those roots once we lost them. And so I feel like, finding the perfect home for people, or even helping them sell so they can find another perfect home, is just, that's where you make memories, and home sweet home.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where you go at the end of the day and just be yourself, and it just means that much more.
How old were you when you guys came over?
I was 10.
10.
Yeah.
So normally a 10-year-old doesn't go through such traumatic experiences, right? I mean, That's huge. These are, when we talk about we have first world problems, we're talking about, our Starbucks coffee didn't have the right creamer or something, right? Yeah. You coming from something major, how has that impacted what you do on a regular basis? Like, how does that, it's almost like, when we grow up here, we kind of, even though we might be growing up poverty here in the U.S., poverty here in the U.S. is nothing compared to what's going on in other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. So how does that shape you as coming as an immigrant? How does that help you moving forward and helping drive your business?
Gosh, I come from a place of gratitude a lot. My mindset, it has a lot to do with being thankful every day for what we have because of what I've known. So the peace that we have here is just something that I don't take for granted. Even the nice, yummy coffee that I get in the morning, I just appreciate every little sip of it. I just don't take anything for granted. And how does that shape how I help people? I think I have an appreciation for people's trust. There are maybe 23,000 realtors right in San Diego, and when I'm the one that's chosen to help a family, I think that's just really very rewarding and very humbling. And I'm just eternally grateful for that trust. And I think it translates into the level of service that I give, because I just want to do such a good job in return for that trust. And, you know, referrals are huge in real estate. So I know that if somebody's happy, they're going to refer me, you know, to their friends and family, which I think is just the best feeling.
Absolutely speaks volumes to what you do. So, because I've noticed, and when I look at a lot of social media pages, because we do a lot of commenting on on different posts, I like what you've done with your videos. Those little tidbits of information are little nuggets of information, because they're not your basic, hey, I'm here at an open house, you know, check out the bedroom. Like I'm done seeing, you know, toilets and tubs and bedrooms. I'm over it. But the information that you've had on there is very useful. Things like, look at my water pressure, right? I mean, I know I should be checking my water pressure. I'm a realtor. I know these things are important. We've done flips. I know the water pressure can bust pipes. We don't have to deal with freezing, luckily, right? But those things are important, and most people don't know these little tidbits of information, and they're very client facing, right? They're very geared towards new homeowners. And so how do you come up with these different concepts?
It is so spontaneous. You know, I don't have a marketing degree or anything like that, you know, so I won't say that I'm the best person out there trying to market myself. It really just comes from a place of heart, and it's just so authentic and spontaneous. I don't know any better or any different. So believe it or not, most of the time my Tidbit Tuesdays is a topic I'll think about either the night before or just minutes before. I have so much to say. I have a spreadsheet of maybe, you know, hundreds of items.
An engineer degree with a spreadsheet?
Yes.
Well, surprise there, right?
Terrible. But I do, every time I think of something or I learn something myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta let people know, because you're right. There's just so much that you could do to just prevent. I'm all about prevention. Like instead of dealing with like a water damage or a disaster, why not just put in, you know, whatever little time and effort to prevent, right?
Yes.
And just you be a happy homeowner.
I saw the one you had with the washing machine where you put the little tray at the bottom. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was like, that makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense. $30, and it can save you hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of
dollars.
Yeah,
especially because you wouldn't notice a problem that's a little drip.
Exactly.
And then it eats through the wood,
yes.
And then it gets through the pipes, and then all of a sudden, by the time you do notice, it's because the kitchen and the bottom level, which is the whole ceiling, collapses.
Exactly. And so Tidbit Tuesdays is just my way of just, you know, giving people small chunks of information. I know, you know, our attention spans are just so, you know, small these days, and we're bombarded with all kinds of information from all kinds of sources. So I thought maybe this would be a good way to absorb useful information. But hey, you know, you're the expert if you have any other ideas on what I can do.
Oh my gosh.
Like I said, I have so much I want to say to people, and I don't always know how.
I'll give you only one piece of advice when it comes to that. Maybe you do something on Monday, maybe you do something on Wednesday, maybe you do something on Thursday, maybe you do something on Friday.
And everybody gets sick of me.
But it's not. See, here's the thing about the beauty of social media. That, you know, our cell phones, there are TVs now, right? These are the things that we consume all the information from. And we choose when we want to turn it on and off, and we choose what we want to see and what we don't want to see. So for you, it's just a bunch of information. If I don't have a washer machine in my upstairs unit, or my washer machine is in my garage where it's concrete, I don't care about that information, right? But if I'm dealing with water pressure issues and I see that, it makes more sense to me.
Right.
So we don't always know what our audience is in need of, but the more information we have to share with them, the more information the more it makes you valuable. The more you're the face who gave them the solution that they were looking for, whether they knew it or not. It does nobody any good if it sits on a spreadsheet, but it does everybody all kinds of good if you actually share the information.
Very true.
That's my only marketing piece of advice for you. I think you're doing a great job. I think you just need to do more of it.
Right. Thank you. It's a matter of time too, right?
Oh, it's a matter of time too. But I mean, I asked you before the show, I was like, how long does it take you to prepare for that?
Right. Yeah. Not very long, actually. It's very spontaneous. Like I said, I usually just, you know, tape it, and I've just stopped doing takes. You know, I'm like, whatever, you know, it's just me, and it's not perfect. I hate the way I look. But you know, it is what it is. I just don't have time. I'm pretty busy right now, knock on wood, you know, but I still want to get the message out there and give people those tidbits. So even if I don't look great or sound perfect, I'm thinking if it helps somebody, then it's worth it.
And it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a long time to get used to my own voice. I heard recently somebody told me you have the perfect voice for podcasting. I was like, really? 'Cause I think my voice is horrible. But it's just because they got used to hearing it, right? So we get used to ourselves either on video or on audio if we just continue to do it and just put out the value. That's all. That's what it's about, right?
That's what it's about, value.
So how long do you plan on being in real estate?
Forever, I hope. It's sometimes it can be crazy. I didn't realize how hard it was until I got into it. It's a lot of sacrifice. I do work weekends, a lot of evenings, because that's when people have time to go see homes, and with the market that we have right now that's picked up again, you can't take days to go see a home, especially if it's one that you think fits your criteria. We pretty much have to be on it.
You'll be gone.
Yeah, exactly. So, it does take a lot of sacrifice, but I love what I do so much that it doesn't feel like work. I don't have that feeling anymore of anything missing. On the contrary, I just wish there were more hours in a day, because there's just, I have so many ideas. I actually have a different spreadsheet just for ideas of all kinds of other things that I wish I could do. But again, I just write it down and, I hope I can do it forever.
That's perfect. How difficult has it been for you when you first getting started managing, going to inspections, going to appraisals, opening doors, setting up showings, and having a family life? Where did you kind of find a balance, and how did you make that happen for yourself?
We don't have any family here. My family's in Canada, my husband's family's in Denmark, but fortunately my husband's job is very flexible. He gets up really early. He works a lot with the East Coast, so fortunately the afternoons and evenings are much calmer for him, and he doesn't work weekends, and that's huge. It would be very hard to work as much as I do if it wasn't for that situation. So the number of times that he stepped in and he'll take care of the kids, their bath, the dinner, weekends, he's on it. So it's just been amazing. He sees how happy real estate makes me. He says he's never seen me this happy, and so I've always been driven. A bit of a workaholic even in my past life, but he just says you're always just so happy, and I think he really wants to help. And sometimes he's putting my open signs out at 8:00 because I'm still with the kids, or he'll pick them up at 8 at night, so he helps every chance he gets.
Super supportive.
Yes.
So earlier you said that having that attitude of gratitude is what keeps you driving. When you hand somebody the keys to their home, what kind of can you share with me what kind of feeling you get? I mean, I think that's a testament to why you keep doing it. Yeah. But can you share with me, what's your favorite part of this whole real estate gig?
Gosh, it is just that. It's seeing people's eyes when they're about to open the door to their new home, and also just up to that point too. Like, there's some very important milestones, and every milestone is just really exciting. But yeah, probably giving the keys is the most exciting one. It's just so rewarding, because it can be stressful sometimes. Not all transactions are the smoothest, and sometimes it takes longer than expected, or you have hiccups along the way. So it's just so incredibly rewarding to see that. I get really emotional. I mean, if one of my clients gets teary, I get teary, and it just makes up for any, difficulties or stress, during the transaction. It just gets lifted completely, and I'm like, okay, this is why I'm still doing this.
This is why it's worth it.
This is why it's all worth it. Yeah.
How many transactions are you going to want to do? Are you trying to build a company that does, I closed 100 transactions in a year, or do you have like a specific goal you want to hit that you're just like on a regular pace? Everybody in this industry has a different gas pedal here.
That's very true. So the corporate and the analytical and the very driven workaholic in me says, yes, I want to have goals and I want to meet them, and these are my deadlines and my expectations. But the reality is, with the reason why I do this is not so much the volume for me. It's just really about, taking, no matter how long it's going to take for a family to find a home. I spend a lot of time with each family. I have a very no pressure approach, so I don't really have, there's no quota to how many homes we're going to see. I spent 9 months looking for something for one of the recent clients I had, because it was just so specific. And, they said, well, can we, went back months ago, they said, well, we probably have to wait until, we're closer to our rent, expiring, our lease expiring before we look. And I said, not necessarily, because you have to start looking ahead of time, so that once you do find the home, and if it's the one, it, and you've seen enough homes to compare. Because what happens otherwise is that they get pre-approved, now they're ready to go, they want the house, they see a couple of homes, they're perfect, or, they may find the perfect home on first weekend, but they don't really want to make an offer because it's too soon. There's that voice inside that says, well, wait, did you do your due diligence? Have you looked at enough homes? And by the time they come back and realize that was it,
it's gone.
It's gone. So that's why I say to people, I don't mind taking the time, to show you homes beforehand. And I think that's what built my reputation too. I just care about my clients a lot. So I don't have, to answer your question, yes, of course, I'm very driven, and, I would love to help a certain number of families this year and, a certain number of families next year. But it's happened so organically for me so far that hopefully if this is the trend and it continues this way, then I don't feel like I would have to worry about that number. It's all about quality for me at the moment, not quantity. Eventually, I may, set up a team to help out, but it's so crucial for me that if I do that, then the level of service for my clients is exactly the same as dealing with me directly, no matter who's on my team, So I have to think about that,
No,
think it through.
That's the beauty of having the engineer mind, by the way. I'm sure those systems will be put in place because it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Now, I like that because the pressures of hitting numbers, when you work with a certain brokerage, sometimes they're like, hey, you need to make this many calls a day, you need to make this many door knocks a day, you need to do this, you need to put up this numbers, you need to hit this quota. And for some agents, that's a great thing. It's keeping them on track to meet a certain goal, right? The more at bats you have, the better. I think the way that you're building your business per se is more of a long-term career. The way you're building it is, the downside to that is you're probably never going to be able to sell it because it's your own thing. So when you do decide to stop at some point in the future, it's you stop, your service stops. But on the plus side, I think you're getting to the point where your business is going to be almost 100% referral based. You will do very little prospecting other than staying in contact with the people you've already done business with.
I think that, and also being very close to my sphere, so yes, I try to stay in contact with my clients, but also, like you said, the videos, all that, like I really want to be the go-to, on my business card, it says you're a trusted realtor and advisor for life. That's what I want to be to people, an advisor. So that's how I try to connect with my sphere. I guess that's my way to prospect. But again, it's not calculated. It's just very organic. That's just me, So the numbers and the cold calls, that wouldn't work for me, but I know it does work great for other agents. I do tell people that they will get a lot of my attention when they work with me, and I actually don't take on too many clients at once because I don't feel that it would be fair and that they each would get the same amount of attention. So, and that's on purpose. And I think it's because I don't have to have that number. Being driven is my personality, so I don't need that number to drive me, if that makes sense.
Oh, that totally makes sense. Yeah. I want to put enough keys in people's hands, right? I want to see enough smiles. I want people to squeeze enough tears, right? Because of the service that I've provided. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. So what is your plan going forward? Do you really plan on building a team? Because that would be kind of tough. Or is this something where you're like, you know what, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I think I'm gonna continue this route maybe until my kids get a little older. I don't know. What is your future look like in real estate?
I don't know. That's such a good question. I mean, sometimes I'm so busy that I'm like, okay, if today another client came, I probably wouldn't take them on, but how can I still help them? And I'm thinking maybe there are things that I don't have to do that are not client facing. So my initial thought right now is having an assistant help me, but for the non-client facing stuff, like things that can be done behind the scenes, that don't affect the level of service that the client will get. I mean, ultimately it's going to be a great level because I'm going to have that help, but for my clients, it will be transparent, So I think that would be the most natural thing for me to do right now, less of maybe the paperwork and even, the social media or, again, things that I can have somebody else help me with, maybe even like when I pass out flyers, or monthly calendars that I pass out to my community, event calendars in San Diego. I love doing that, but there may be months where I just have to hire somebody to do that for me. So those things that, I think would make sense to outsource.
Those definitely do. Those we've talked about, growing and scaling your business, doing things that, if anything that takes you away from speaking to a client, those are the things you cannot delegate. Everything else you can delegate, right? And we call them money-making activities, right? When I'm talking to a client, when I'm going to a listing presentation, when I have a buyer presentation, when I'm showing a home, when I'm doing an open house, when I'm in front of the client, those things I need to continue to do, because if I don't do those, the clients go away. but everything else we can manage and put away.
That's very true.
Well, that's very, yeah. Whew. I like to see it in action, though. It makes all the difference in the world when, there's book theory and there's real life, right? I teach my 17-year-old seniors who are about to graduate next week. Can't believe it. They're all grown up, ready to hit the real world. But we talk about stuff in the book, right? When we look at an income statement in a book, or when we look at a tax return in a book, it's one thing for it to be theoretical. It's another thing to be in real life, to put it into action.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what kinds of things did you think real estate was like theoretically, and how did they come out in your practice?
Oh, wow. That's such a good question. So when I first got into it, when I got the books, actually, I used to run a lot in my neighborhood, and I would see the signs, and it was just like such an idealistic lens I had on, like, oh, look at the signs, and someday that's going to be me. And I thought it would be super easy. But I think the hardest in practice was they don't teach you how to, like, what do you have to do to let people know that you're now in real estate, And I thought long and hard at first. I was like, okay, like now I'm in real estate, but so are 22,000 other people.
Yes.
And, that's when I thought about the interviews. I was like, okay, why don't I come from a place of education? Because in my past, job, I used to help implement software systems for, pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies and insurance. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And, we had to go live with the new system, and I had to be part of teaching, the new users on how to use the system. And I enjoyed the teaching aspect of things. So I actually thought, what can I teach people, that's related to real estate or the community or schools or whatever that could be helpful. And that's kind of the basics for me. Sometimes when things get overwhelming, even today, I tell myself, you can't lose track of why you got into this in the first place. I always come back to keep it simple, keep it about adding value, keep it about educating people, and let them make informed decisions, So, but I didn't know that when I was, thinking about how real estate would be. I thought it would just be, oh, okay, I'm in real estate now, and naturally I'll help everybody that I know, but everybody that I know knows 10 other realtors.
Right. Exactly. No, that's crucial. We have so many new agents that get into the business and have that fantasy too. Mm-hmm. That fantasy of, well, now I got my license, come to me, everyone. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No, you have to find a way to make a difference in people's lives.
Well said.
That's it right there.
You have to find a way to make a difference in people's lives, because ultimately you will make a difference in their life, right? You're helping them buy their probably the largest investment of all time, right? So that is a huge, or help them sell a home, right? That is a huge part of their life. Yeah. But how do they hire you? Right? How do they get to know that you actually do it? Or what's worse when you're first getting started is, how do they hire you, the rookie, versus these other guys that have been in the business for a while? How did you overcome that?
Well, I think you don't want to, I see so many realtors, unfortunately, getting their license and they start marketing themselves as a new expert, know, and don't try to fool people by saying that. Again, stay true to yourself and think about what expertise you have that you can use and leverage to then make people, realize what you have to offer and click with you. For me, it was that, wanting to help people, teach people. And that's kind of the spin that I took, because it made sense and it was natural. So you have to find what you already have, what skill set you already have, and you can build on, and let people know that. And, by putting yourself out there, try to meet as many people as you can, and see if you can click with people, because ultimately it has to click. At the same time, I've spoken to a few coaches, and a lot of them say it's the best marketers that get most of the business and not necessarily the best realtors, And for most people, they buy and sell maybe once, twice, 3 times in their life. It's not something you do all the time. So you don't really know what to expect. Everybody can say they're great, but a client, choosing a realtor is most of the time going through the process until the end with that realtor. And they don't really know, well, was it a good one? Was it a bad experience? They don't have anything else to compare it with. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's the toughest thing in real estate, is how do you let people know the level of service that you're providing them, and how you're going above and beyond for them, because everybody can say that in their marketing, right? And that's where I feel like providing clients with an exceptional level of service is key, because then at least they can be your advocates and they can let people know what you did for them. I think that speaks more volumes than you trying to pitch that to people.
Absolutely. I mean, clients are going to work with people, with agents that they know, like, and trust, right? And to know means you actually have to tell them what it is you do, which is, I think, the marketing part that they're talking about, creating your brand, creating your market, letting them know. Like means that once they do realize who you are, that, you know, they actually find your information useful, which is, I think, what you're doing well. And trust. Now that's the hardest one, because everybody knows, like, if I come up to you and I tell you, hey, I'm an honest guy, like, the first thing I'm thinking is, dude, you're not honest, right? You know, if you got to tell me that you're honest, you're not an honest guy. So, you know, when people come out and promote themselves as the expert in something, like, right away, to me, I don't know, me personally, I'm defensive. Right. So know, like, and trust is the biggest factor, and that, I think, is what's going to take you over the top. And when you do your videos that you've been doing, when you give that information, they know who you are, they like what you're putting out there, and they trust you because the information is, this is just what I know, this is what's helpful. Look, it's easy to understand. And this is, that kind of, to me, gives them a sense of, okay, look, it's, I know somebody, she does good, I understand this information makes sense, it really does help me out. I think I can trust her to do the next level. And it never has to do with anything of, like, you don't get asked at that point, like, well, how long have you been in the business? You might get asked, you know, here and there, but for the most part, once they trust you, that barrier is gone. Like, they trust you. We're gonna do this. Let's get you in a home, or let's get your home sold, right? We're gonna rock and roll, no problem. And I think that is where you're excelling. Well, I think that's why you've gone 4 years and counting. You renew your license already? You get your C? Okay. Just making sure.
I'm on it, actually. I'm getting my
Getting your
right
CE done?
Yeah.
That's funny, me too. I'm in the process. This year's expiration year. So, no, but I think that's the biggest difference. And I think the same thing with our podcast. It's the same thing. I get to learn from everybody who comes on the show. Everybody who comes and shares their experience, their stories, what worked, what didn't work. And that's just a wealth of information that I get on a regular basis. And I have to disclose every single time, because I'll say things I know I've heard from somewhere, but I can't always identify exactly where I heard them.
Right.
But I'm molded. Like, that's my education, right? My education comes from learning from others who've been here, or things I've read online, or things I've heard online, or things I've studied in books and class and experienced. That's who we are. And right. I think you're doing a great job molding your audience to see what's valuable, what's useful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, see, was it bad?
No.
Were you nervous?
No.
It was easy, right?
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just throwing it out there. She was nervous at first, at the beginning, but she did a great job. So if you want to be a guest on the show, hernan@csfirst.com, or find us on our social media pages at Business Bros Pod. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to look at your cell phone camera right here. There is a banner under your name, even though you can't see it, so you can point down and let people know how to get in contact with you should they want to work with you.
So you can call me, text me at 619-808-4804. My website is yoursanDiegoRealty.com. You can email me at caroline@yoursanDiegoRealty.com. I'm on Instagram. I have a Facebook page called Caroline Abkar-yoursanDiegoRealty.com. So yeah, those are all the ways you can get a hold of me.
And check out our Instagram. Those Tidbit Tuesdays, I'm telling you, you think you're a homeowner and you know things, you just don't realize what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And I put them on Facebook because the whole Instagram thing, with
the
you only
60
have 60 seconds,
yeah.
And I'm not very concise. I still have to work on that. Like, how do I give a tidbit in 60 seconds? That's really hard. So,
at least yours goes the full 60 seconds.
It's a post, not a story. You're learning. He's still learning, because I've committed him to do more social media posting.
Right.
Hopefully I've committed you to do more social media posting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. That's awesome. Yeah.
So that's what it's about. So, ladies and gentlemen, well, first of all, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
See, it was fun, right?
It was a blast. Thank you.
Cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick reminder, 365 pairs of shoes. We're still trying to collect. So if you have a gently used pair of shoes, fumbled out all day today, right? Hit up James, 619-884-0045, or email him, james@csfirst.com. He'll ride over in his Harley and pick those bad boys up. You want to see it? It makes a lot of noise, so just throwing it out there. That's just, it comes with the territory.
I posted it the other day.
There you go. And make sure you guys follow him on his social media at Insurance Broham.
Yeah.
Right? And check it out. If you guys have any insurance needs, that's where you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Caroline is here to be at your service when it comes to your real estate needs. I'm telling you, check out her Tuesdays, her Tidbit Tuesdays, and encourage her, push her, ask her for more information. I've heard she's got a spreadsheet full of ideas and content, so we got to get her to use it, all right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you guys today. Peace.
Bye-bye.
And we're out. So what do you think? See? Fun, right?
Cool.
Bye, Facebook. Thanks. Love ya.
Oh, yeah, bye, Facebook.
Bye, Facebook.